Thank you very much, Dr. Hoda, for your talk and presentation. Now, please welcome with me on the floor. We will start the panel session, and we will ask the panelists to come to the stage. We will have our moderator, Dr. Hala Omar. Dr. Hala, she is the Vice President of Egypt Green Building Council. Dr. Hala is a Senior Sustainability Specialist at Dar al Handasa. She has a certified to be an ambassador and official trainer of sustainable development by Egypt's National Institution for Governance and Sustainable Development in Training Arm. She is a lead accredited professional with the building design and construction. Please welcome with me Dr. Hala Omar, the moderator, and to start the session.
Thank you. So please welcome with me Ambassador Hisham Badr, Sarah Al-Battuti, Dr. Salah Al-Haggar, and Hoda Ibrahim. I'm extremely honored to be with you in this panel discussion. Let me first start with Ambassador Hisham Badr. I just need to know more about the Green Initiative, Smart and Green Initiative. Yes, okay. Okay, so if you can talk more about the Green, Smart and Green Initiative and tell us more, how do you see it can boost the Egyptian economy and help Egypt to combat climate change?
As you heard from everyone today, the important is to get everyone engaged. The government cannot do it alone. So it's the people. Ultimately, you have to change the culture. It's a mindset. So when everyone starts thinking in terms of projects, utilizing a green perspective, a green lens, and the technology lens, because it's green smart. So if you have eyeglass, which is climate, and at the same time technology, and you start everyone going into the labor market in Egypt and around the world starts thinking of successful projects in terms of these two elements, both climate and technology, I think we have done a great benefit for the future generations.
Yes, and how do you see the private sector, the role of the private sector in this initiative?
It's fundamental. This initiative is for the private sector. It's for civil society. The government has its channels. Government can present its projects, but this is open for everyone. For private sector, civil society, small startups, etc. So it is not only as a submitter of projects, for example, AUC will submit projects, British University will do so, all the Egyptian universities are going to submit their projects. This year's addition is that with the cooperation of Minister of Higher Education, every university in Egypt will be allowed to present its project. This is one thing. But then the role of the private sector as a partner, as a financier, this is very important, financing, because you will have projects, but then people will say, okay, where is the money? Where is the money? Where is the finance? And this is, I think, a role of responsibility. It's not a matter of charity. It's a matter of a balance between offering a good project and then finding innovative and appropriate finance. This is what we try to do. Private sector will not put its money if it's not a good project, and at the same time, people have to be able to implement or to upgrade the projects in a way to attract investments. And here you're talking about a combination of money, whether it's CSR of companies, responsibility, or investment, or international financial institutions. So this is a very important question.
And this will make me jump to Sarah. How do you see businesses can join the race to zero, and what are the commitments that they need to do, and what are the benefits for the businesses to run this?
Yeah, so businesses can join the race to zero because it's addressing different sectors. So with each of these sectors, there's, like I said, there's a roadmap. There definitely are challenges. Let's talk about the challenges first. The challenges are that net zero, race to zero, and all of these are seen as very westernized concepts. How do they apply over here? So the idea is to showcase more local and more regional companies. This is why they always focus on who from the sector have joined. Like AUC has joined in the academic institution sector. The slide that I showed with the construction sector. And therefore, so the roadmap is quite clear. It definitely works and addresses the individuals in the company. So there are people that are specialized in publishing. There are people that can research and do the market research on how to make pledges and what sort of pledges to join. UN Global Compact, you can join the ESG reporting mechanism. So just the whole idea that you introduce a pledge that you're going to take action in reducing your emissions, that's all you need to get in. It doesn't have to be very big. It has to be a start. And you have to follow the 5 Ps all the way until you actually publish, and then you start persuading. So it's a very flexible roadmap that can be adapted to any kinds of businesses. The benefits to it, yes, of course, it's very good exposure. You get spoken about in so many different places, but what's in it for me as a company? In it for me is that I have access to a very large network of people that are thinking alike. So if I need to design a green building, then I have access to automatically communicate with a material-based company, with an auditing company, with an NGO, with a university that can help me. So you have access to this network, and you don't feel alone doing this in your country or in the region. It also gives you access to enablers and catalysts for you to becoming a bankable and fundable company. I mean, a lot of the financial sector is going now, and instead of them, having a conference and asking people to come and present themselves, they're tapping into the members that have already joined the race to zero, and their 50% of the work is already done. You know that these people are doing this, and they're serious, and they're transparent about it, so that's your go-to. So it just makes things quicker and easier.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Salah, the question is about, you were talking in the presentation about net zero emission and the link with business opportunities. How can this, what is this link? Can you please elaborate on that?
I think this is a new trend worldwide. Think about 10, 20 years ago, people all over the world, they have a concept called environmental sustainability. And they try to convert the concept of sustainable or environmental sustainability into action plan, which means the way to solve the problem of environmental protection through a sustainable approach. With what I mean by sustainable approach, to be economically viable and socially acceptable, and of course environmentally safe. This means the approach, which started almost 20, 21 years ago, is to convert all types of emissions, all types of waste into a business plan. And I give one example during my presentation, but I can give you a lot of examples, and that is a key issue. For example, if you try to talk about climate change, now I will give you $1 million or $1 billion to contribute to climate change reduction or greenhouse gas reduction. Then what kind of business plan do you have to invest this amount of money into these projects? And therefore, what I presented in today's presentation is how to enhance the national economy and reduce the carbon footprint. And I think that is the trend worldwide. And I think we should convert our roadmap from protecting the environment by investing money from the government into protect the environment, into a business plan and gain money. And that is a trend, especially in Europe, in China, and in India. I don't like the model in the United States and Canada because they have a lot of money and they are using the word control for protect the environment. But the model in Europe, China, and India is the best model to follow.
And how do you see it for decarbonization and net zero emission? Now it's still there's need for market confidence and potential for financing. What is the priority? What do you think is the priority now in order to really move and achieve the full decarbonization and achieve net zero?
Unfortunately, everybody tries to talk about net zero from the combustion or from the emission point of view. But we have another very important, as mentioned by Hoda, about the embedded carbon. For example, here in Egypt, we have 140 million tons of solid waste. Unfortunately, we are utilizing almost 20%. The rest is dumped on the water canals, dumped on the desert, dumped everywhere. If you develop some kind of a business plan to convert this 140 million tons per year into a high-quality product, and we have a number of case studies all over the country. I think we have almost close to 30, 40 case studies, all over commercial case studies. All we need is just to expand it all over the country and utilize the 140 million tons. One of them is 100 million tons organic waste. You know what? If you leave organic waste without utilization, it will be fermented and emit greenhouse gases. Not only CO2, but also CH4, where CH4 is 21 times CO2. And therefore, if you be able to utilize it, you will enhance the national economy. In the same time, you will solve the problem of climate change.
And this will allow me to jump to Hoda. Do you think that we can really achieve net zero embodied carbon?
Yes, we can. But how and when and why we are looking for that? Actually, all over the world, even in Saudi Arabia and UAE, they are expanding their roadmap and have many initiatives and implementation on the ground. It's not easy for Egypt. It's very challenging, but it's not impossible. It's possible, but we need to engage all stakeholders and the government, the NGOs, as Sarah said before. It's a way on how we manage, how we put on ground the risk, and how we can implement the first steps till the net zero concept. We will not begin from 0 to 100%. It's not possible. But we can even begin with our first steps to implement the net zero. We have actually not only net zero energy, not net zero waste and net zero water. Also, we don't focus on net zero emissions inside the buildings, which caused by the VOC, for example. It's very harmful material that's still used by many manufacturers and impact on our health. Mm-hmm. So we need to set a roadmap for each sector and engage the government, the institutional, the international organizations that are professionals in each sector to be able to implement the net zero concept.
Okay, I think we can now have some questions from the audience. If anyone would like to have a question, yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Mohammed Salah. I'm a co-founder and board member for Egypt Green Council, and EcoStrategies also I'm co-founder and board member. My question, I would like first to say that I don't like to work with the abbreviations of the share of the future generations. Sustainability is not only for future generations, it's also for the nowadays generations. I have to take my share and give others share. I prefer to work with it's a union of the intersection of economics, environment, and society. And my question is for Egypt, not all over the world. I would like to illustrate more. In Egypt, we have enhanced the society in the last years. We very well achieved steps. Also, the environment, we have very well achieved steps. But in the economy, there is a lot of deficiencies. There is a lot of disasters affected by global economy. Inflations, defactors, a lot of high-rise prices, material high-rise prices, a lot of negative impacts in the economy. And I would like to hear from all the guests, the four guests, starting by Dr. Sarah, Dr. Hoda, Ambassador Hisham, Dr. Salah, what are the effects of the disasters in the economy on the society and the environment, which forms all the unity of sustainability. The unity of sustainability, the percentage of this unity is how efficient is sustainability has been achieved. And economy is a very, very, very respectful share in sustainability. I would like to hear from you your point of view about the affection of economy on environment and society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and nice to meet you. I think one of the major aspects that has been highlighted that we didn't really take on board, or it wasn't so obvious, was the global supply chain. And I think with starting from just about pre-COVID, we internally here had a very rigorous economic reform structure that started, with us seeing construction costs post-November 2017 onwards. That really was a wake-up call. Suddenly, it was very, very lucrative to build in Egypt, and then we started getting challenges. So we had to up our game a little bit. We have been for a long time taking it for granted that it's very easy to have construction in Egypt. It's abundant, we're growing very fast, etc. So that's the first thing. The second thing was that the global supply chain, I think, put a major spotlight in the materials, in the appliances, in the machinery that go into our buildings. Suddenly you really had to think, what is locally available and what do I get from abroad? Which in turn put a spotlight on the need to finance local R&D. The need to allow businesses to develop local products, to develop local material, to upcycle, recycle, reuse, but also to develop internal technology that works. So not every time there is a global, and it's not every time, it's reoccurring, by the way, there is a global disaster, we come to a screeching halt that affects us so rigorously. So I think it can work in both ways. Either we can sit and really feel the challenge and it can make us stop working, or it's the right time to demand investment in SMEs, investment in local tech, investment in local research, that we can provide these kinds of materials, audit them, register them, and get them recognized abroad, and also develop the technology that could be used by everyone here, and get the financial case up and running. As I said in my presentation, it really falls down to the financial support for this sector. Thank you for recognizing that this sector has a huge effect on climate change. Now please show the money in order to help us get the solutions. It cannot be more straightforward from a private sector person. You know, the complaining is out there. Now you have to help us because we're trying to put forward the solution, but you keep on spreading the money everywhere else. The next thing is, for COP, there is a pledge for a huge sum of money, $100 billion pledge to invest. For the longest time, they've been saying, oh, well, we can't really see which projects. Can you please show us the projects? Can you please show us the projects so we can implement this money and we can give the money to projects that we can track? And I think this is why we said COP of implementation, and the next COP is going to be COP of innovation, COP of inclusion. So there's a way forward, a response to how much the economy is being brought into the discussion of COP. It literally is almost top 3 list of priorities for COP.
Thank you for the question. Now, of course, it's a very complex, we can stay for hours discussing what you know, it's a very important question. But let me respond to you telegraphically from the perspective of the initiative and from the Egyptian government, what it seeks to do. One, the success of what we are saying here, we can talk all you want. You can preach as much as you want. The important point, the success will be how much you link the climate solution to profitability, so that every citizen around the world, and at least from our perspective in Egypt, through this initiative, its success will be able to convince the person that you're doing this not only for the climate, but because you're going to do economic sustainability, you'll be able to make profit. If you make that linkage between climate and economic profit, and that if you approach the road of climate through less energy or clean energy or emissions or waste, because there are 3 elements. One, what goes into the process? Energy. Everything begins with energy. If this energy that you get is cheaper, cleaner, newer, etc., then in the process, reduce the emissions. Then the output, the waste, as was said by Dr. Salah now, to be able to use that waste in another way, if you're able to translate that into money for you as a person, as an industry, as an investor, then you have won, my friend. This is one element. The economic situations globally, as Sarah has clearly highlighted, internationally, both the COVID, the Ukrainian-Russian war, the repercussions of all this has affected all of this. But at the end of the day, there are responsibilities. Let us not forget that we, Egypt, who did COP as representative Africans, we are not emitters. We are the subject of a lot of emissions. Therefore, as we go forward, let us not forget this point. There are those who have to bear the responsibilities, and that's why when the Egyptian leadership was able to get the loss and damage fund this year, after 30 years of negotiations and rejection by some to have a loss and damage fund, to be able to say that, listen, you have a responsibility and therefore you have to finance. Finally, again, the point of finding new solutions, which is the point I alluded to during my comments. We cannot proceed with the same financial mechanisms. I think the time has come for new financial mechanisms. We've been taught when we were in school here in AUC, studied a new financial economic order. Now is the time to see financial innovative bonds, debt swaps, all kinds of mechanisms for investors to be able, all this what we're talking about, what Dr. Salah is saying, what Huda, Sarah, everyone is talking about methods and visions, but at the end of the day, it has to be mixed with a certain kind of a hybrid of innovations and finances in order to use that. Challenges present opportunities. In Egypt, and you know that, and we know that the Egyptian diplomacy, we have always been part of the solution. We like to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. There is a problem, but in Egypt, at least for Egyptian diplomacy, for Egyptian leadership, we always like to see the bandwagon that we are part of that solution. And I think hosting of the COP27 and presenting of these initiatives and the examples you've said by all people who spoke, what Huda spoke very proficiently, Sarah al-Batouti on the ground doing things, Dr. Salah by presenting all this, and everyone else. There's a whole constellation, there's a galaxy in Egypt. I sit with these people. If you think the people who are working in the green business after COP and before COP, it's a major change. A lot of people, but we have to get them together into combined work from every perspective. But there's a lot of developments there. And therefore, we've been able to say, here, we are putting our money where our mouth is in certain projects, and that's why we are here. That's why we're all here to for certain common cause. How to utilize and how to make that challenge that you mentioned of the economy that will affect ultimately this to our benefit, how to leverage it. And that is the engineering. This is the diplomacy, or this is the diplomacy of economics and of climate change. This is why you need technocrats, you need people, you need leaders to be able to use that challenge as an opportunity for the future. And as I agree with you, not only for our kids, for ourselves, for the present, and to be able to change that for the future, including the mix between all the nexuses that are involved between economy, climate challenges, politics, etc. Thank you.
I think the point of economy is very important. Without economy, we'll never be able to solve any of the challenges. If you remember, in one of the slides, I said net zero is a solution to all problems, including climate change. What I mean by all problems here, I did not mention that in the presentation, but all problems mean economical problems. For example, I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we have 140 million tons of solid waste generated every year. If we'll be able to convert it into a high-value product, then we will enhance our national economy. That's one thing. The most important part, tomorrow, we will have two sessions, one related to net zero solid waste, and another one related to net zero wastewater. And you will see not hundreds, thousands business opportunities to convert the solid waste into high-value products, to convert the wastewater into high-quality water for irrigation or even for drinking. And this is a very important, which will be presented, inshallah, in two sessions. Each session is about 2 hours. And I think this is a very important because any solution will not have win-win-win situation, win for the government, win for the investors, and win for the community, then it will not be successful.
Yes. Any other question from the audience?
Good evening, Dr. Mohandas Amr Hifnaouki, QHC Director, Suez Steel Company. My question is about green building. What is green? What I am meaning? What I am meaning is there are limits for to say a green building, limits of emissions. Is that related to the emissions of the bricks, of the steel, of the concrete, or what I will use inside the building, or what I will use inside the building? When I can say just a green building, is that related to the electricity used inside the building, which is the main factor for carbon footprint? We are Suez Steel Company, interested in sustainable certificates from all over the world, from USA, from United Kingdom, from Baltic countries, from Scandinavia, and so on. They always target carbon footprint CO2 emissions. Some of them speaking about 700 kilogram per crude steel produced, and so on up till 400. The last one is 400 up till this moment, up till 2025. 2030, it will be 500 kilogram ton CO2 per steel produced. When I am saying green building, either our Ministry of Environment will issue a law for the limits to say it is green. If there are limits for the emissions to say this raw material or this product green. I do really happy that we have now an AUC Tarshid certificate, which is synchronized with LEED certificate in USA. I think you have the lead in Egypt, and it's really progress. I hope all interested parties in Egypt to have this certificate, or one day it should be a mandatory certificate for green building for all construction companies and so on. So my question is about green. Thanks a lot.
I think Dr. Salah, you can.
Thank you for this point here. I would like to mention one thing which is very fact. In the United States, there is almost close to 2 million buildings green. United Kingdom, they have about 700,000 buildings green. In Egypt, we still have almost about 100 buildings green, even less. Green building means you are going to save energy up to 50 to 60%. You are going to save water up to 80%. You can save materials up to 30%. You can reduce the greenhouse gases. You can improve the indoor environmental quality as well as outdoor environmental quality. These are the main benefits of green building, and we hope to promote the concept of green building over the whole country. And the main challenge is the conversion of the existing buildings and the existing communities to be green. And that is our main challenge in the Egypt GBC, because in Egypt GBC we try to focus not only on the new buildings but also in the existing buildings. But this is, inshallah, will be promoted next few years. Thank you for the question.
Unfortunately, no, مش راضي يشتغل. Okay. Unfortunately, time is up for the question. We can have separate discussion after that if you want. Just one we can take a discussion after that. Just one word from everyone. What is your message to the youth, to the private sector, if you have a message to say?
One key message is please try and localize everything. All of these concepts will not hit the ground running unless they are localized to fit us, to fit our circumstances. So localize the model.
One keyword, start from yourself. As Engineer Muhammad said, I need it from us before our generations. Start from yourself. Shut off the lights, shut off the water, and use recycle bins inside your home. This is very important.
sgg.eg. That's the message. sgg.eg. Apply and submit your project in the national initiative. sgg.eg. Look it up on your mobile. If you have a project, please apply and submit it on this platform. Thank you.
My message is to try to help your community to act to net zero. I think this is a main challenge. But I would like to go back to Sarah's comment about localization. Localization is very important to have a local rating system. And what I mean by local rating system, one of the board members in the EGBC, we decided to have rating system based on net zero. And this is, by the way, it's a main challenge. And alhamdulillah, we have a rating system called Tarshid based on net zero. And in the third day, we will present some of the cases implemented here in Egypt. But localization is very important for national development.
Thank you very much. Sarah Batouti, Huda Ibrahim, Ambassador Hisham Badr, and Dr. Salah Al-Haggar. Thank you very much all.
Thank you very much for the panelists. Thank you for the first session in the first day of the conference, Pave the Way to Net Zero. Thank you, Dr. Sarah. Thank you, Hala. Thank you, Huda, Ambassador Hisham, Dr. Salah. Thank you for the audience. Thank you for the time, and see you tomorrow. Registration will start from 9 to 10. First session will start at, we will have a keynote speech from 10 to 11, and the first session will be starting at 11 a.m. in the morning. See you tomorrow, and thank you very much for the first day.